Forever. Dog.
Just between us. Hey. Just between us. Hey.
Hello, I'm Allison. I'm a writer, mental health advocate, and sneaky silly, apparently.
Hi, I'm Gaby Dunn. I'm a writer, bisexual icon, wink, and my parents are currently in the state that I am in.
Is that why you're sweating so much?
Yeah. We're so far apart. Look at you.
I know.
You're all the way on that couch.
I'm recording in studio with Melissa, and Gaby is off living their bi-coastal life in their cabin in the woods.
Yeah, I'm in my cabin in the woods, but it's like I feel like I could visualize myself like next to you on the couch. Astral project to be right next to you. Oh, and then you feel a gentle wisp on your arm and you know it's me.
Oh, that's my nightmare. I don't want that. So your parents are visiting to just help celebrate the engagement?
They are. Yeah, we're going to go out to dinner. My parents and Mal's parents and me and Mal. They might meet the new baby. Mal's sister had a baby. It's like a whole thing. I'm not sure. I never know how much the parents are supposed to know each other. Like when you're getting married, like how much are the parents of each of the kids? They called each other to congratulate each other, which I was like, congratulate on what? Like your child's ability to have a healthy relationship? Like, I don't understand. Like, also, like, I get that this is nice, but like when Mal proposed to me and then Mal's parents were like, we're so proud of you to Mal, I was like, for what?
Well, it's okay. As somebody who's writing a book about marriage, let me share what might be happening.
Okay.
I think it is in a lot of times when two people get married, it is a joining of the families.
Yeah.
So maybe even more than the congratulations, it is more just like, oh, we are now going to be related. Let's have a check-in.
Yeah.
But in terms of like how much do parents need to know each other, like, or families, like, I think it varies so much. I think some families know each other really well. Some families like meet at the wedding. Some families never meet at all if people are estranged or no longer around. So
you know this because you study marriage. I forgot that the invitations will say sometimes, we're not going to do this. We'll be like, the Ken and Ruth Raskin invite you to see their daughter, Allison, marry blah, 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 and blah, 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 John, whatever, putting that in the universe. And then that's the invitation is like the parents are inviting you to the joining of the children. Is that normal?
I'd say it used to be very normal. Nowadays, I think less people do it. I think a lot of people still do it, but I've seen more just that the couple is inviting you. One of my friends, it was their dog was inviting us.
That's fun.
Which I thought was very funny. But yeah, I mean, historically, right, it is like a joining of the families. It is like the brides in a heterosexual relationship giving away the bride to the...
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, and in terms of like congratulations, like to you and to Mal, like it is a really major life step. And
Definitely.
It's like a major decision.
Yeah.
And so the congratulations of like, oh, you have made this big choice and you have found the person to make that big choice and step with, I think warrants a congratulations.
No, not congratulations, but I guess from that perspective, I can see why it's like, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, like maybe that's something Mal really been looking for, wanting to do in their life, and now they're doing it, and that's wonderful.
I think it was more like, we never thought you would do this. I think it was more like a, whoa, you must really like this one. Like at this point.
Melissa's like falling off her chair.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's like, I feel weird about like getting engaged, or if I'm going to get engaged for a second time. How do you phrase that? Like you were like, oh, like, I don't even know what to post. I was like, what do I post? Like take two? Like it's
that is so funny. Oh my God, that is so funny. Wait, I really love that.
But I can't do that because it's his. We could post take 2 if it was also his second engagement, but it will
No.
be his first engagement, so that's not fair. Yeah, it is like this very weird thing of like, I'm very glad that I didn't get married the first time, but the engagement of it all is a little weird. But I wrote about that on my Substack of just like having to come to terms with like the fact that I feel about it is like I have like, will people be like, yeah, good luck with this one?
No, I think people will be like, oh, amazing. Like, you know, everything happens for a reason. Whatever people
Hate
say.
that phrase. I hope nobody says that to me.
I know, but people will say dumb things to you. Mal wouldn't let me make the caption on mine T4T4 Eva. Mal says no bit. Okay, you want to plan my wedding? Mal says no bits at the wedding.
What?
No bits. Not allowed to do anything as
It's a serious wedding?
They want it to be very romantic.
Ugh, I don't want to come.
Okay. Well,
honestly,
I'll
come, but I won't have a good time.
That's
I have
fine.
to be serious the whole time. I can't make any goofs.
Well, we're gonna do an open floor, so you're allowed to roast. You know, everyone gets a good 5 minutes.
Do not do that, Gaby. Gaby,
Really?
Don't do that. That's
2
a mistake.
minutes. Everyone gets 2 minutes.
No,
Who
don't do
wants
an
to
open
speak?
floor. Gaby, no.
Why?
Don't do that because it'll be a disaster. If you want to do that the night before at the rehearsal dinner.
Okay.
But don't do an open floor at the actual wedding because that could take like an hour.
Because we know a lot of comedians.
Yeah, that feels if I'm gonna bestow anything on you, it's don't have an open mic at your wedding.
I wanted to do like my friend Stephanie Beatrice was giving me a bunch of wedding advice, and she was telling me because I was like, I want to make the dress code don't bore me. But
my God.
But then she was like, I know you and you're going to want to be the center of attention. So don't give people any dress code that will make them try to be like more than you. And I was like, okay, you're right. So now, you know, but I want to look like Billy Porter looked at it and said, it's too much. Like, I want to wear that.
As you should. I really think you should do whatever you want other than have an open mic. And you can even have an open mic at the rehearsal the night before, have like a big party and do an open mic there.
Okay.
But I think that with the flow of a wedding, you don't want like a solid hour and a half of speeches in the middle.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
Anyway, this is Just Between Us, a variety show filled with heartfelt advice,
ridiculous games,
and brutal honesty.
Well, this week on the show, we've got our 2 guests, Kristen Meinzer and Jolenta Greenberg, talking about Romance Road Test, their new Audible original podcast, which is kind of fitting for what we were just talking about.
Yeah, it's a very fun interview and even funner
Hypotheticals. Yeah, pretty good. And later, we're going to be discussing changing your language.
And why people are so mad about it.
Oh, I forgot the second part. Yeah.
But first, we have got to answer a listener's question. And you know what that means? Hit it! International question! International question! International question! Elisa, Iowa.
Nice.
Beautiful. Hey, you two. I've been listening/watching both of you since your BuzzFeed days, and I've enjoyed every second.
Hey.
I also finally have a question for you. Here's a little background. I work as a victim witness coordinator for a prosecutor's office. As my job title suggests, I work with victims and witnesses in criminal cases. The work can be fairly stressful as I'm typically working with people who are recently or are currently experiencing trauma. I do not specialize in one type of crime, so I work with victims of robbery, burglary, theft, harassment, domestic violence, sexual abuse, assault, etc. I've been in my current job for the past 5 years, and I've learned a ton about the criminal justice system, dynamics of human interaction, and myself. I also have a great salary, PTO/vacation accrual, and retirement package. My bosses are also incredible. I've struggled with my mental health over the past 2 years. Who hasn't? And they've been super supportive and accommodating. While I think the work that I do is valuable and I love the people I work with, it can be stressful, regularly seeing people in pain. I'm currently looking for other work and I found a promising job, but the employer is known for offering low salaries. The benefits are great, medical, dental, PTO, vacation, decent retirement, but the salary is definitely lower. Is it worth working a job with a less robust retirement plan and lower salary as long as I'm happier doing it? Help. Thanks so much for reading my question.
Wow. Elisa, to me, because I have a financial podcast, Bad with Money, to me, it seems like it depends on what your goals are. If your goals are to retire by a certain age and this has a less robust retirement package, that's something to consider because it would require working at this other job longer in order to achieve what you could achieve working at this other job for a shorter period of time. So it's kind of a cost benefit analysis of like, if I'm working here a shorter amount of time and I can retire, is that shorter amount of time going to be so hard for me that I would actually trade that for working longer at a job that doesn't actually like make me sad and stressed every single day? So I think in terms of salary, it really just depends on, again, like, what are your goals? Like, are you a person who's like, I am fine renting? Are you a person who's like, I want to eventually, I want to travel the world? Like, I think a big part of this kind of decision, and I'm sure Allison will speak to the emotional side of it, for me is making a list of what are your top 5 goals for the next, let's say, 10 years of your life, and then seeing what these salaries and what these benefits packages, what lines up with what. And if you can say like, you know what, if I downsize where I'm living, then I actually will kind of be taking in the same profit and loss, even though I'm, going to a job with a lower salary. If I'm at this job, but I'm happier and I'm able to like have more of a social life, or I'm able to like sleep better at night, like what will that add to my, ability to work harder? Like, I think factoring in what the time commitment mentally, not in your job is, or emotionally in your job is also something you should factor into spending or salary, if that makes sense. Like, it's not just a number.
Yeah, my reaction, that was a very reasoned and grounded reaction. My reaction was definitely quit.
But here's the thing. Somebody needs to do that job. And I don't think you're obligated, but it is sometimes like you are such a good feelings, like you clearly listen to this podcast, so you're like emotionally at least interested in your emotions and your mental health. And so like, I would rather have you doing this job than like some guy who doesn't care. Does that make sense? But like, it's not your responsibility, but I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah, but a lot of times in certain high emotional jobs like that, you can only do it for a couple years.
That's
like,
true.
You'll see people who have these types of like, working with certain communities, working with trauma, like the fact that you made it 5 years, I think is commendable and wonderful. And so I don't think that you should put that pressure on yourself that you have to continue to do that just because you're good at it.
I know.
And I think it's that real question of like, how much do we care about now versus this future that we can't even necessarily bank on?
Right.
Like, I wouldn't say, hey, quit your job completely and go blow all of your savings, but to take another job that has benefits and has a salary, like at a certain point, you have to care about now, and you have to care about your quality of life and your internal world. And if you are noticing that like this is just not sustainable for you, that like the work is just coming home with you and permeating you, which is completely understandable, then I think finding something else is definitely the way to go. But I think just the idea of that, like, it's this or that, right? Like you can take this job, but then continue to look for another job that has a better salary, or maybe put a little more planning into, okay, if this is my next step, what's my step after that? Right. Instead of just feeling like so locked in long term to this lower salary. But in terms of like the next decision, I think getting into an environment that is better for your mental health is definitely valuable, and more valuable than whatever loss of salary you're taking, because we don't know how much time we have. We don't know what our life is going to look like. And if this is draining you, then that's like kind of the only answer that you need. And someone else will hopefully come in and step in and be able to do it for a bit of time. But there are some people who can do this kind of job and it not come home with them. And they could probably do that job for 20 years. But I would argue that most people can't, right?
Yeah, you develop compassion fatigue, which is where you see
Right.
people who have been in these types of jobs for 20 years. You're like, why is that person so mean to me when I'm like just trying to like get help? And it's like, well, because they've been doing this for so long, they've kind of lost track of like the people, the humanity of it. You see that a lot. I also think lower salary, what I'm trying to say is that lower salary doesn't necessarily mean you will have less money, because if you are happier, if you are healthier, if you have more energy during the week or during, the weekends or whatever, there's room to then sort of parse out, what do I actually like doing? What is something that I could do on the side, which I know sucks. Side hustle culture is really born out of economic oppression, and nobody knows that better than I do. But I think like there are ways to sort of take a step back and see, okay, maybe this is a lower salary, but how can I make it work for me? Is there a way where I can take some of the salary that I have before I leave this job and invest it and figure out like maybe there's like a mutual fund or something you can put it in, or like maybe you take this lower salary, but because you have more time, you're able to volunteer, and that, gets you to meet different people, and your priorities might change, and you might feel like, yeah, you know what? Like, I don't need all of this stuff that I have or something, like, I just think like, no, I'm serious. Like, sometimes working with different groups has made me feel like I need to, I need to downsize what I've got. I need to, like, there are places where I could donate or sell these things or whatever. I just think like once you have more breathing room, like once you're not oppressed by your job, even because you could have that salary and have no breathing room to know what you want to do with it in the future or what you actually value and prioritize, because you're so locked in. So like these people have these jobs that are so stressful and so like create a lot of mental stress. And then they wake up and they do that job and they go to sleep and they think about it and they wake up and they do that job. They're not even using their higher salary. They're not even putting it to use in a way that indicates their priorities and values. They're not able to figure out where they want to put their time or where they want to put their money, because they're just like so stuck in this idea that the high salary matters more than their health
and their day-to-day experience.
Yes. Day-to-day health. Yeah.
So we're excited for you to take this leap. I think, like we said, like this doesn't necessarily mean you'll have a lower salary forever. I think getting in touch with what your priorities are and what your goals are more long-term for your career. But in the immediacy, like, getting yourself into an environment where you can kind of take a breath is definitely going to be beneficial. So if you want to submit your international question, you can send it to justbetweenuspod@gmail.com. That's justbetweenuspod@gmail.com.
Up next, we got an exciting interview with our highly esteemed guests, Kristen Meinzer and Jolenta Greenberg. Stay tuned. Creating visual content is an essential part of what we do, but the creative process hasn't always been easy. I have to make a lot of the content for my podcasts, and let me tell you, without the templates of Canva, I don't know what I would be doing. Canva is so easy. It's allowed me to make stuff that looks really professional. I don't have a graphic design degree, and yet I'm able to make beautiful social media posts using Canva. Seriously, like, since I found Canva, I can design anything like a pro on any device, even if I have no prior design experience.
Canva takes the time and guesswork out of designing. In a single click, you can remove backgrounds from any image or even resize content for all of your different social media channels with Magic Resize.
With Canva Pro, I can even create a one-page website for my business in a matter of minutes, with insights on traffic down to the country and device used.
I never thought it would be this easy to create a compelling video until I tried Canva Pro myself. The drag and drop video editor is so simple to use and has tons of filters, animations, and transitions that will bring your content to life.
Design like a pro with Canva Pro. Right now, you can get a free 45-day extended trial when you go to canva.me/justbetweenus. That's canva.me/justbetweenus for a free 45-day extended trial. Canva.me/justbetweenus. How we care for our minds affects how we experience life, so it's important to invest time and care into keeping them healthy.
As someone who's been in and out of therapy since I was 4 years old, I can't even really imagine a way of taking care of myself long term that doesn't at least involve occasional therapy tune-ups.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been with the same therapist almost 9 years now, and I see her once a week. And honestly, like, just having someone else to bounce my thoughts off of or my experiences off of helps me to unload, like, the burden that, you know, is on my shoulders.
And BetterHelp is an online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat-only therapy sessions. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to.
It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours.
Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/justbetweenus.
That's betterhelp.com/justbetweenus.
Just between us.
Welcome back to Just Between Us. It's time for the juiciest, most scandalous, most controversial segment known to all of podcasting. Tough questions.
This week on the show, our guests are Kristen Meinzer and Jolenta Greenberg. They are best known as the hosts of the long-running self-help experiment podcast By the Book and co-authors of the book How to Be Fine, What We Learned from Living by the Rules of 50 Self-Help Books. Their newest creation is Romance Road Test, a new Audible original podcast out now. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for having us on today.
Oh, we love to have another duo on so we can compare dynamics. So we've been so intrigued by this new project that you guys are doing, which is, you could probably describe it better than me, but sort of taking a trip down, trying all these different romance self-help books with your partners.
Yes, but this time around, it's not even books. It is everything from trends on TikTok and YouTube to articles from ladies' magazines. We do everything from assemble flat pack furniture with our partners to read smut to each other, go to romance-themed hotels, all the things that you've read about from all the not quite reputable sources out there.
That's
what
amazing.
made you want to do this?
I'd say a mixture of curiosity and the fact that in our podcast that we normally do by the book, our partners definitely become part of the social experiment of, as sort of unwilling bystanders of us living by self-help advice. And people really love the snippets where our partners are involved. So we thought, let's do something where we just force them to do every episode with us. And we're so intrigued with all that dating advice about, like, if you do each other's grooming, like, your love will grow, as will your understanding of their body. And I'm like, really? I want to know.
What are each of your relationship statuses just now so our audience can get a sense?
Well, I have been married for 6 years and with my husband for 8 years. So we met almost 8 years ago on a little thing you may have heard of called Tinder.
Wow.
Ooh, love to see it.
And I am married to a dude that I've been with for, I guess, a decade. We've been married 7 years, met a decade ago when we were both aspiring theater actors.
Okay, so you guys have been married for a long time, each of you, a considerable amount of time. I just got engaged. Thank you so much.
Congrats. Oh my gosh.
Way to really stick that in there, Gaby.
It's important.
What have you found has actually, like, kept the romance alive? Let's say before you even started this, what were your ideas individually of, like, how to get closer to your partner or have intimacy?
Well, Dean and I are very much into, this is going to sound so corny, into manners and treating each other with kindness. Jolenta knows this very well. She's like, you two and your manners with each other. But we genuinely believe in treating each other constantly with kindness and giving way more compliments than when we would ever give criticisms. And then I think that's just because that's been the personality of our relationship from the get-go. It's helped keep things alive because, is there anything sexier than somebody who treats you like you matter?
Wow. Simple.
Whoa.
Yeah. Oh, and then one other thing. He does all the housework and cleaning, and that keeps him sexy too. I'll just say that.
Acts of service is a love language.
Yes. It's
yes.
real.
No, I think you're so right. And one of the things that's so tricky with a partnership is like on the one hand, it's the person that you're the most comfortable with, but that also can mean that you like don't maintain a level of politeness that you do with like everyone else in your life. And that could cause some tension. And so I think like remembering, oh, this is another person that like I should probably watch how I speak to them is like really helpful.
Yeah, sometimes it's easy to fall into the trap of being more polite to your barista than to your partner,
Oh,
because
totally.
we keep it so real with our partners, right?
You flippantly say things.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. What about you, Jolenta?
I feel like, I guess, sort of making time for just like little moments, even if it's just like my husband often works evenings. So sometimes just making time to like hang out while we eat breakfast and like just watch a TV show together is like something so simple and boring, but definitely how we keep sort of a connection going, just like shooting the shit over some toast. But like forcing that time. It's time like I could be working or he could be, prepping for work. But it's like, no, we got to like carve out little moments, whether it's like, a movie night or a date night or a breakfast date.
Yeah, my partner calls it HQQT, high quality time.
Oh, perfect. Yes, exactly. What a great acronym, nickname.
Yeah, acronym. They said it to me one time as if I knew what it was. Like they were like, you got to get that HQQT. And I was as if like I knew that was like a thing.
Is that
I
something
was like,
everybody except us knows?
yeah, I was like, one more time.
I make sure that my partner and I have a good night kiss every night so that we can maintain our intimacy.
Wow.
And then we go
Oh,
intimacy
I like
maintained.
that.
Wow.
Oh, I like that.
Wow. I will say I'm not a big romantic. And so I have had times, my partner is such a romantic that I've had times where we're like laying in bed and they'll go, we didn't kiss at all today. I'll be like, why were you keeping track?
Why weren't you, Gaby?
Why wasn't I? I know. And then I said that to a friend of mine to be like, isn't Mal totally nuts? And my friend was like, I have actually said that to my girlfriend.
That's why
Oh,
you got to
wow.
install the required goodnight kiss because then you got one on the books every day, no matter what.
So this is the thing, right? Is that it sounds silly. All of this stuff sounds silly, but like it really does make a huge difference. And so I was curious. Well, I guess I want to start with what did you guys find to be themes that were repeated in these different forms of like romance self-help?
So a lot of the exercises are really about being vulnerable with our partners, opening ourselves up to letting them do our grooming, as Jolenta said, or opening ourselves up in love letters to each other, or opening ourselves up to let them into our lives in ways they're not normally in our lives. Like, for example, bringing a spouse or a partner into a beloved hobby that they're not a part of in your life. So there are all sorts of ways that the exercises invite us to let people in that we love. And I'll just say it doesn't always go very well. I would say the least successful exercise we did for me and Dean was introducing each other to our hobbies. We almost killed each other. It was terrible. It
Why?
was
What
awful.
happened?
Because he is a video game person and he kind of turns into a monster when he's playing video games. He's kind of a boss. He's kind of a bulldozer. And I'm not a video game person. I'm just trying to putter around and figure out how it works. And he's trying to tell me I'm doing it wrong and let me grab the mouse away from you. This is how you do it. Watch how I do it. And then I leave the room. Yeah. And then
It's a side of him that is exercised through video games that you don't need to see.
Yes.
Right.
And he is the most loving, gentle person in the world who never raises his voice, as Jolenta knows very well. Jolenta has known him since day one. Yeah.
This is the couple that Kristen's like said earlier, bonds over manners. So
Right.
to have him sort of like butt in and be kind of controlling and like obviously judgmental, it's rare.
Right.
Could he recognize that he was behaving so differently in this atmosphere?
Oh God, yeah. We both saw it and we agreed we will never do this again. We are never, ever, ever playing video games again.
And what was your hobby that you brought him in on?
Well, he hates theater. He cannot stand it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to introduce him to a kind of theater he'll like, though, because what he really cannot stand, people live in front of him acting out scenes, pretending I'm actually in somebody's living room, having a dramatic moment with them, then breaking into song. He hates all of that stuff. And so I'm like, oh, I am going to bring him to a theater experience where there's no talking at all, no singing.
Oh, okay.
It's all going to be drama on ice. And I thought he would like that because,
What?
it's skating, it's not acting. And maybe you get to see some, cute costumes. And he hated it. He hated it so much. He hated
Are you just
it.
talking about a figure skating show?
It was called Theater on Ice, and it was an outdoor theater during COVID.
It sounded like sort of a modern ice dance performance
Yes.
from what I heard on the show.
And you, Kristen, had a good time.
Oh, I had a blast watching 20 people all skate in circles and jump around and make formations on the ice and tell a story of separateness and then togetherness as they did double axles. Oh my God, it was fantastic. I loved it.
So there was a story. There was a plot.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I've got to go see
Okay.
this immediately.
Wow. So the advice, where did that advice come from? The advice was share each other's hobbies.
Oh, yeah, that's in a lot of different places. We came across
Okay.
that over and over again in our research, wouldn't you say, Jolenta?
Yeah. And it's always like that way, like you have an intimate knowledge of like what they're doing and where they're going when they say they're off to blah, blah, blah. Like,
No. It seems codependent to me. Why not have your own things that you enjoy doing? If your partner wants to go off and play D&D, like Godspeed, do your own thing.
mhm.
Yeah. And it's nice to have things that are our own and, our own internal lives and the things that, make us feel sparkly inside. And it's okay if those things don't make our other, our partners feel sparkly inside. It's okay. They can have different things that make them feel sparkly inside. And then we can come back together with ourselves all full of sparkles and be happy.
Right. Plus, what do you have to talk about? If you're both doing hobbies with each other, what do you have to talk about at the end of the day?
The theater on ice. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
dissect the ice dance for hours.
Right.
No.
I'm wondering what else was horrible advice. Like, what did you read and think this can't possibly work, and then it didn't?
I know that you didn't like the grooming one,
I was
Jolenta.
going to say, I was like going between grooming and reading smut. Both didn't really work for us. I mean,
Explain, Jolenta, what happened with you in grooming?
so with grooming, there's all this stuff about like do each other's grooming and like you'll get to know each other's bodies and like see each other differently. And, for us, like I helped my husband like shave his head like all the way, which I already sort of do because like he can't get the back right. So I'll always be like, you have some like sprigs. But for him, he like put on some makeup for me without any knowledge of how to do it. Didn't end up looking so great. And then just like constantly the whole time he was doing it was like, oh, this is so much work. You have to do like an art project on your face. Like presenting as a woman is like a job. And I'm like, I know. Thanks for pointing it out. Like, no, I know. Yeah. Like it's like
But do you feel that
unfair.
it caused him to understand you better or no?
It caused him to understand me better, but it also like brought down the mood in that like it wasn't like a fun date. Like you know what I mean? Where it's like in the long run, like we do sort of joke about it. And he's like, oh, how's your art project? If I'm like putting on makeup for like, say, doing a podcast that people will hear, but you guys will see. So I like the understanding, but I feel like it wasn't worth sort of like the mood killer in the moment because I wanted it to like bring us together instantly. Maybe my expectations were too high too.
When you said grooming, I completely thought you were like going to shave each other's pubes or something.
He also shaved my legs and was like, this is work. And I'm like, yeah, I have really long legs. It's like a large portion of my body. And it brought down the mood.
I had major knee surgery in February, and afterwards, my boyfriend had to help me shower and had to dress me.
Oh, yeah.
But it was different because it wasn't like meant to be romantic. Do you know what I mean? But instead, it was like, oh, this person can care for me in my most vulnerable state, and that feels nice.
Right.
But I
right.
think if it had been like put my pants on for fun,
Yeah.
then it would have been not great.
Yeah.
It was more like him being like, how much excruciating pain am I causing you in this moment? And can I lower it down a little bit?
But that creates intimacy. I mean, there's that movie Phantom Thread where she keeps making Sim sick.
I'm just going to poison you every month.
Right.
Poisoned. That's how you keep them close to you.
That's how you keep the intimacy alive.
What was the thing that worked the best?
Jolenta and I had such different reactions to almost every exercise.
We both sort of like doing something terrifying together.
We did.
I think that's good.
It was fun.
Like what?
Yeah.
What terrifying things?
Ours was like super heteronormative in that I drove us to the beach. And so me being in charge of us, and I'm more cautious than him. So like there's some yelling about like, go, go, and like people honking. Like, so it got a little, it got, the dynamic between us was more terrifying than like the act of driving. But so I drove us to the beach and Kristen's was way cuter.
Oh my God, no, driving. Couple of my biggest fights with partners have been over each other's driving. It's like very intimate and everyone gets so defensive.
But there's also laughter.
There's a lot of trust that you have to, on both parts. The driver has to trust the passenger not to freak out. The passenger has to trust that the driver's going to get them there safely. Yeah, all of that.
What was yours?
Another version of driving, it was riding a tandem bike together. And I am somebody who rarely bikes, and I have been in bike accidents before. My husband is a very avid mountain biker, but just a few weeks prior was in the ER for a mountain biking accident. So I didn't want to get on a tandem bike with him, and he didn't want to get on a tandem bike with me, somebody who bikes once every 10 years. And so we were both really scared to do it. And the whole episode is just essentially me screaming and screaming and screaming. And just when you think I can't scream anymore, I'm screaming more. I screamed pretty much through the whole episode, and I loved it. And afterward, I'm like, we got to do this all the time. It's so good.
You guys should be jumping out of planes together and stuff. I feel like that's really good, like intimacy stuff. My partner and I just blew up an inflatable boat that they gave me for my birthday. And then we realized we went out on the lake and we had all these ideas. We were going to go around the whole lake, but you have oars. So we're sitting with each other and we're rowing and we're like not making any progress because you have to at the same time row in order to move forward. And it was such a metaphor. And we were like trying so hard and then it wasn't working. And then they were sitting across from me. And then once they came and sat next to me and we could row next to each other was when all of a sudden the boat started moving. And I was like, I'm not like this. I'm very logical, but my partner is very like, so I was like, this is not a metaphor. Stop it. Whatever you're building in your mind about what this means about our relationship, shut it down. Like we went to like Target and we needed to find a beach umbrella and we couldn't find the beach umbrella and we were searching for it and I could tell in their mind they were like, if we don't find this beach umbrella, it means that we can't work together and we're not. And I'm like, it's just a beach umbrella, but they're not like that. So finally we found the umbrella and we brought it and we like actually worked together and found it, which was like kind of a miracle because it was not anywhere it should have been. And then we got back in the car and I was like, do you genuinely feel like the umbrella represents our relationship? And now you think that we'll be together for the next 10 years? And they're like, I genuinely do. Like they are.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can't like everything is a thing,
Everything's a story with meaning.
Yes. So I was like, as soon as we couldn't get the oars, I was like, you shut it down. Whatever metaphor you're creating in your mind, stop it. But we did end up, when we sat next to each other, we could row the boat.
Right. And when you get that feeling of like, oh, we're doing it. Or like, it's working. Or like, we got there. Like, it's sort of, it like might be a hint of a trauma bond, but like it also, you get that like adrenaline going and you're, having adrenaline together. Like it's exciting and like it helps connect.
That's why you guys mentioned putting furniture together. That's the big one.
Yeah. IKEA furniture My husband and I, we're very different in how we do things. He doesn't like to read the instructions. I'm like, why would you not read the instructions? They're right there. And IKEA furniture in particular has the cute little cartoons of the two humans doing it for you. You just do what the little cartoon humans do. Let's just do this. And he essentially was trying to like throw away the instructions, like, I can do this. And no, now you're turning in the screw before I even put the shelf in. You have to have the shelf in first. That's step one, not turning the screw. And yeah, there was a lot of that happening. We just have different approaches, and it's sometimes to my detriment, but I am absolutely about following instructions. As Jolenta knows on Buy the Book, following the instructions possibly to the extreme. And he is not.
Wow.
I hate reading instructions. So I'll be like, you read the instructions and then you tell me what to do.
I'm a reader.
I'm the opposite. I'm the instruction. I'm the brains and Mal's the brawn. Like, I'm the instruction reader and Mal will lift the things.
I'm the brawn,
that's
baby.
just what my partner does. Yeah. I'm like, you lift that bed frame. I'll tell you exactly how to put it together.
Yeah. Wait, Allison, you're the brawn?
Well, I'm now correcting. I'm not really either, but I don't like to read instructions. I can't. I don't know how to do things off of reading. But if somebody tells me what to do, then I can do it. So I just need him to interpret the instructions and then tell me what to do, and then I determine if I want to listen.
If it was like an audiobook, it would be easier to do the instructions.
We just had a big test in our relationship, which was that we like had our first big co-hosting party.
Ooh.
And it was really funny because we put so much stakes on it. We were like, if this doesn't go well, one, we can't stay together. But two, like, nobody will ever want to come to a party we throw ever again. Like,
Oh
we're
my
establishing what it is like for us as a duo to throw a party. And so we went like all out and like spent way too much money, and now we probably can't throw another party because we can't spend that kind of money again.
Can't live up to the party.
Now, Allison, did you each take separate roles? Did one of you play the role of, I'm going to host every person as they walk through the door and the other person's in the kitchen? Or did you just go fast and loose?
I'd say once the party was starting, we were kind of fast and loose. I'm looking to Melissa because she was there. We had different roles leading up to the party. And I will say I'm sort of big picture, and then I give him tasks.
Nice.
So I
She's
have
the
the list of
brains.
everything that's got to happen, and then I'll decide what of that I'm going to do and what of that I need him to do.
Wow.
But it was wild. It was really, and then during the party we were like, okay, this is going really well. I think we can stay together.
You guys both put that on? Like, you guys both were like, if this doesn't go well?
For a month leading up to the party, because that was another thing. We overly planned this party where we like paid for paperless post. We sent out the invitations like 5 weeks in advance. This was like, there was no reason to treat it this way, but it kind of became this like fun game in our relationship that we were treating this party so seriously.
I'm gonna
Wow.
love it.
Did I remember to RSVP?
Yeah, you RSVP'd that you couldn't be there.
Yeah. And that's sort of the whole
That's the
deal.
dynamic.
I had a birthday party and all I did was print a step and repeat with my name on it and order some pizza.
Oh, you had a step and repeat? So
Absolutely.
glamorous.
Absolutely a step and repeat at my party. I don't go anywhere that there isn't a step and repeat. There is a red carpet. There'll be a red carpet at my wedding.
Oh my gosh. What did the step and repeat have on
Dream
it?
wedding.
It said, thank you so much. It said, it was for my birthday, and my name's Gaby Dunn, and my friend a long time ago started saying Gaby Birth Dunn on my birthday. And so then I made this background that said Gaby Birth Dunn, and then people took pictures in front of it. And I had a ring
that's so
light.
great.
Yes,
That's
yes.
so good.
Thank
That's
you so
good.
much. The problem with that was that then I was like, this is what I want to do. And then my partner was like, what will people eat, Gaby? And I'm like, oh, whatever they want.
I don't care.
That's unimportant to me.
We're going to take a quick break, but stick around.
I have tried everything to get silky, strong, healthy hair. And when I say everything, I mean everything. As you guys know, I color my hair all the time. And I have tried so many masks, like avocado masks for your hair. One time I tried a mayo mask. That was in high school, but I did attempt that. And I was really tired of the ineffective hair treatments. So if you're like me and you're hungry to try something that actually works, give Vegamore a try like I did.
Vegamore has transformed my hair. Their clean and vegan approach to hair health uses smart botanicals that promote visibly thicker, fuller, longer looking hair.
With help from Vegamore, get healthy, beautiful looking hair without the use of harmful chemicals. All their products are cruelty-free and never contain potentially harmful chemicals like parabens or hormones.
Vegamore has something for everyone looking to improve their hair health. Their Grow Revitalizing Shampoo and Conditioner Kit works together to create visibly thicker hair and improve hair from the roots. Just massage the shampoo into your scalp for 60 seconds and then follow up with conditioner on lengths and ends. It's as simple as that, baby.
Having Vegamore as my go-to shampoo and conditioner is a game changer for my overall hair health. I really like the conditioner. It's so smooth. It smells really good. And also the packaging is so cute. It's this really nice pink color. So it just looks great. Like in my bathroom, I feel like I'm using something that's luxurious.
From the salon.
Yeah, like a salon. Yeah, it sounds silly, but yeah, I mean the Grow Revitalizing Shampoo and Conditioner Kit was it just feels great on my hair.
Give your hair exactly what it's been craving with Vegamore. Go to vegamore.com/justbetweenus and use code justbetweenus to save 20% off on your first order.
That's vegamour.com/justbetweenus. Code justbetweenus to save 20% at vegamour.com/justbetweenus.
Just between us.
And we're back.
So I have to ask, what are your thoughts on these places and sources giving advice for every couple, right? Because couples are so different. Their dynamics are so different. Do you think it even makes sense to sort of give these universal tips?
Absolutely not. I mean,
It's
no.
mostly straight couples, right?
Oh,
almost always. Yeah.
They very, very rarely acknowledge the fact that somebody could be in a relationship that's not, male, female. But I would also say that, Jolenta and I like to think that we are an example of how two people who are similar in so many ways, we live 10 blocks away from each other. We are, both in similar marriages in so many ways. We live on the East Coast and so on. Even though we're similar in many ways, we're both podcasters, what worked for Jolenta almost always didn't work for me and vice versa. And if people who are as similar as Jolenta and I can't find common ground with this advice, what is somebody doing who's living, in a third-ring suburb of Wichita who's same-sex,
Right.
in a same-sex relationship versus somebody who lives in the South and is an evangelical Christian versus somebody who lives, we all have such different lifestyles and we all have different personalities and we all have different things that, turn us on and make us feel good. So I just think much like by the book, the idea that anything is universal is completely false. It's just not.
Did a lot of it put the pressure on the woman?
Almost all the advice we came across was targeted at women. There were very few sources we came across that seemed to be saying, men, step up. Here's how to, make your woman feel more excited about you. Here's how to make her feel more cherished. Men, here's a way to, satisfy her even more in the bedroom. Almost everything we read was targeted at women, with, the preface being, ladies, here's how to add some spark. Or even if it wasn't saying, ladies.
Spice, spark.
Yes.
Yeah.
The websites, even if they weren't saying they were targeted at women, they had certain clues that women might feel are targeting them. So, the cursive font, the pink shades on the website and so on. I'm not saying men can't love cursive and pink.
Right, but
we know what that social coding is.
Yeah, they're, some gendering message.
yeah, even with the sexual stuff, like we were talking about reading smut to each other, was that in an effort to grow closer or in an effort to have better sex? What was that for?
I think it was about intimacy.
Were you picking the smut?
We picked it, and it was rough to pick something that like your partner who's being like semi-forced to do this activity is comfortable having like anyone who has audible hearing. And, they have lives and careers of their own that they want to like maintain some dignity with. And I think it was just supposed to be letting your partner in on what turns you on. If like maybe you have trouble doing that, it's an in to be like, what if we try reading this? And I think about like, I feel like it's just like what a ladies magazine would say is like a classier quote unquote version of like watching porn together, essentially. Like literally just adding some spice, a new sexy element to like your intimate life together.
And did you notice a change in the type of advice based on when it was given? Like, were you looking at any like older advice from like the 70s, or was it all sort of modern advice?
I would say a lot of it was not necessarily modern or historic, but a lot of it I would say is just classics that probably we've all seen again and again and again in Cosmo articles when we were in high school all the way to the present. The ones that were more modern, like the ones about doing grooming, I think were informed to a certain extent by COVID and what people were doing during that time. Not everyone's making it to the hair salon. Maybe their partner is coloring their hair or trimming their bangs for them,
Like you want help doing, you want help painting your nails, like with your non-dominant hand. Like, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, I'm into nail art. Like
my partner Mal did shave my head for me a couple times, and it was nice. It was cute, and it felt
my
like
partner
intimate.
helped buzz my hair, and it was like kind of a fun moment.
It was sweet.
Well, that's the big takeaway. Everyone buzz each other's heads.
Wait. Most of us can agree on that. Like 50% of us agree.
I agree. We solved it.
Would you want to play a game show with us?
Oh, yes.
Of course. Yes.
So this will be just as revealing about yourselves as this whole adventure has been, hopefully. So this game is called Hypotheticals. All three of you are going to be my contestants. I'm going to give you a series of hypothetical situations. You can ask any clarifying questions you might have, and then tell me what you would do in that situation. And I pick a winner. Sometimes I'm the winner. Sometimes life's the winner,
Wow.
So our first game is America's favorite game show. Would you stay with this cheater? Your partner of 6 years is an escape room fanatic.
Incredible.
They have successfully broken out of 25 different escape rooms all over the country and always boast about it on social media and at parties. One night, they are attempting to escape from a very challenging room alone, and the person working the front desk is being coy about giving out clues. Your partner proceeds to have intercom sex with the employee so they will give them clues and they can escape in time and keep their perfect record. Would you stay with this cheater?
What the fuck is intercom sex?
It's like phone sex, but over an intercom.
Phone sex.
Yeah, I'm in. I'll stay with that cheater. Now, here's why. Here's why I'm staying with this cheater.
I'd be pissed.
I've been trapped in escape rooms a couple of times now where even using the intercom, nobody let me out. I would do whatever it takes to get out of an escape room at this point after twice being trapped in one. And if that means intercom sex, so be it. That's just showing you're resourceful.
I am so competitive about my intelligence that if I was at risk of losing an escape room, or if I would do almost anything, and if I lost an escape room, I would try to make sure that anyone who saw it happen was dead. Like, I would kill anyone who had seen it, like, just so that there were no loose ends. This is why I can't play Jeopardy, because I'll take it so seriously. Everyone's like, you should go on Jeopardy. And I was like, if I go on Jeopardy and I get an easy one wrong, I will end it all. So I take it way too seriously. So I say I would stay with this cheater.
Yeah, I feel like stay with them, but like we'd have something to talk about in couples therapy a lot.
It was mutually beneficial, I'll tell you that.
Oh!
Mutually beneficial.
Are you allowed to come in an escape room?
Well, I don't think there are signs saying you can't.
I've never
But we
seen
are
a
touching
sign.
every
It's true.
surface of that room. Our hands are
Oh,
on everything, looking for
gosh.
clues.
No.
And if the walls are sticky suddenly, I don't
Please
know
do
if I want
not
to touch
come in
sticky
here
walls.
on an escape.
Mm.
I'm staying.
Yeah, I guess I'll stay too, and I'll just hope they wipe down the walls for the next person.
Wow. I really thought everyone would leave.
Yeah.
My whole
I'll
thing
stay.
would be you didn't even deserve to say that you figured out
Mm.
that escape route because you cheated.
And that is a very Allison response.
And that's my issue with it.
I
You're going to
see.
go around bragging that you got out. You cheated. Both in two different ways.
Wow. Wow. All right. When Allison's right, she's right.
Okay, our next scenario. Are you a terrible parent? Your child, 13, has been refusing to study for their bat mitzvah. But instead of forcing them to prepare, you see this as a good learning opportunity and let them decide how much work they want to put into it. On the day of their bat mitzvah,
Oh, no.
they totally bomb and can't even get through their Haftorah portion. It ends up being the most humiliating day of their life, but they are never not prepared ever again and eventually become a CEO of a major corporation. Are you a terrible parent?
No, you're a great parent. You're the best kind of parent in the whole world. Yes.
Ooh.
Hats off to this parent. I love this parent. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good
Why
parent.
do you think that?
Well, because you are entering into your adulthood when you are being bat mitzvahed. And part of growing up and being an adult is raising an adult, not raising a child. And part of adulthood is making our own mistakes. And so in this case, this is not life or death. It's just like embarrassing. And I've been to bat mitzvahs before where the Torah portion is sung and or read in a not very clear way, where there are some stumbles here and there. And like, nobody died. It was fine. Then afterward, we all ate a bunch of food and we danced. And that was the bigger portion of the event anyway, was the party afterward. It's not, no one's going to die over this. And then in the end, our hypothetical child here ended up being the CEO of a company. So it's all fine in the end anyway. But again, I think we need to be allowed to make our mistakes in life. It's okay. And no one's going to die of a mistake. And there's a great lesson to be learned in sometimes we make mistakes and we don't die from it.
I've been truly convinced. And also, why the hell did my parents drag me to fucking Rabbi Yitzhak every goddamn week so I could learn my Torah portion? It was so boring.
Did you have a fantastic party afterward, though?
I did. I had a great party.
And the party was great, right?
I had a really good party.
I had a situation where I wasn't that prepared and the cantor yelled at me. And
Fuck that.
it ignited
no.
something in me. And then I gave one of the best bat mitzvahs that's on that side of the Mississippi, I think.
They still talk about it to this day.
Yeah, they all, the Westchester Jews really can't give it up. I thought Gaby was going to say you're a terrible parent to allow your child to become a CEO of a major corporation.
I thought that as well. I actually did think that. Yeah. I agree with Kristen. You're a good parent, but then maybe they should be something else.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think it's fine parenting. I feel like it's low stakes enough.
My first thought was they should run a butterfly reserve. And you know what? Stick with that. Sounds
CEO
peaceful.
of a butterfly reserve. That's a good job.
No, not
Right.
CEO. Kristen.
But you could be CEO of a good place.
They
Right?
just run a butterfly reserve. It's
As
peaceful.
the CEO, I am
They're
so proud
just
of
the
them.
manager.
CEO.
They're the
Every
manager.
butterfly reserve needs a CEO.
Or is
I
it
love that.
a CBO, Chief Butterfly Officer?
That's what I thought was the most. I was like, what's the opposite of a CEO? What's something gentle? And it's like a person who runs a butterfly
butterfly.
reserve.
Okay, our final game. Would you forgive this liar? Growing up, you were always told that you...
Allison, whenever she laughs at her own, I'm like, what is this going to be?
Growing up, you were told that your father was a sperm donor, so you could never find out who he was due to legal anonymity. On your 25th birthday, you were going through old photos and find your mother's journal which includes a passage saying that David Miscavige, the current leader of Scientology, is actually your father as a result of your mother's brief stint in the religion/cult. When you confront her, she says she didn't want you to know because he is so icky and also probably a murderer. Would you forgive this liar?
Yes, 100% yes. I would find that. And I don't even know if I would confront my mom. I'd be like, let's pretend this never fucking happened. Never saw this. Sperm donor all the way. Where is Shelly? Like, I don't want to have to take that on. I don't want to feel like somewhat responsible for that. Like, no, I think totally forgive this lie. Like, you're better off thinking sperm donor over Miscavige.
Oh my God, Jolenta, really? No, really?
I'm all for it. In this, like, one case, usually not.
Okay, hold on. Does he know I exist?
No.
No, he
No.
doesn't. Okay.
No.
Kristen, what's your answer?
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, Mom, I'm going to forgive you after I go to the press with this information. After I force there to be a paternity test. After I sue Scientology for child support for all of the years of neglect. After I completely take down this cult and rescue the abused children that are living within the cult. After all of that, Mom, I will forgive you. But
Straight
first-
to Leah Remini. Straight to
Yes.
Leah Remini.
Yes,
Love
Yes.
her.
that's
Love
what I'm
her.
doing. And I am, full disclosure, reading her book right now, as Jolenta
Really?
knows, and loving it.
Whoa.
Yes, I'm reading the audiobook version, which she narrates and is wonderful.
She
Yeah.
narrates it? That's amazing.
And she is hilarious as she's talking about how bananas everything is. She's
Wow.
such a good narrator. But yeah, that's my method. Yeah, I'm calling Leah.
My thought is a mix of both of you, and Jolenta's plays in here because if he knows I exist, what's to stop him from coming and killing me? Maybe she was keeping me safe, and maybe I don't want that target on my back.
Oh.
I mean, I see what you're saying. Sea Org is very popular, right? But
There's also an added wrinkle wherein I think Leah Remini is my partner's like big celebrity crush. And so I think if I could leverage being a Miscavige to get my partner to meet Leah Remini, who I assume is their soulmate, they would all be worth it. My partner loves a bossy woman with a strong Jersey accent.
Yes. Yes. Do they also like Michelle Visage? Or
They love Michelle Visage.
Yeah.
They like Marissa Tomei. It's all that.
oh my
kind.
gosh.
oh,
yeah.
nice.
It's
Nice.
all that.
That's
Yeah.
so cute.
Yeah.
Well, I think what we do is we get a security team in place and then we take them down.
Ah, yes.
Who's we?
Well, we're all David Miscavige's illegitimate children in this scenario.
It's similar to how like Ronan Farrow when they were saying that Frank Sinatra was his dad, and he was like, I mean, we could all technically be Frank Sinatra's children. I was like, we could all technically be David Miscavige's children.
Exactly.
Horrifying.
Thank you both so much for joining us. Where can people find out everything that you're doing and follow your work?
We have our podcast, By the Book Pod, which has its own Twitter and Instagram at By the Book Pod. And we post things about Romance Road Test there. We post things about ourselves. We post things about By the Book. So that's probably the easiest place. But then also, Jolenta, I'll let you shout out any other handles you want to shout out.
Well, also Romance Road Test, our Audible show is at audible.com/romance road test. That's where you can hear all of our dates. You can binge it all. And we also talked to Nedra Glover Tawwab at the end. She's an amazing relationship therapist, and she gives us sort of like advice about like why things didn't work. It's very fun.
Love it. Thank you so
Amazing.
much.
Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you. This was so much fun.
Stick around after the break. We'll be talking all about changing your language and why people don't seem to want to do it, even though it's not that big of a deal. For all your summer travels, whether you're going abroad or staying domestic and want to immerse yourself in the culture, now is the perfect time to start Babbel. Babbel is a language learning app that's sold more than 10 million subscriptions. Thanks to Babbel's addictively fun and easily bite-sized language lessons, there's still time to learn a new language before you reach your destination.
I'm using Babbel to learn more Spanish. Mal and I are planning on going on a trip to South America, someplace we don't know yet, for I think around Christmas time. And I don't know hardly any Spanish, even though I went to school in Florida. So I'm excited to learn more Spanish. Mal already speaks Spanish. That's my fiance. And so I've been taking Babbel lessons to learn more Spanish words so that I can travel.
With Babbel, you only need 10 minutes to complete a lesson, so you can start having real-life conversations in a new language in as little as 3 weeks.
Other language learning apps use AI for their lesson plans, but Babbel lessons were created by over 150 language experts.
Their teaching method has been scientifically proven to be effective.
With Babbel, you can choose from 14 different languages, including Spanish, French, Italian, and German.
Right now, save up to 60% off your subscription when you go to babbel.com/justbetweenus. That's babbel.com/justbetweenus for up to 60% off your subscription. Babbel, language for life.
Welcome back, Just Between Us. It's time for Topix.
XXXXXX, baby.
Baby.
Ooh,
That was upbeat.
that was melodic.
This feels like an alternate universe where like Melissa is me. Like I'm watching JBU, but like it's a different timeline or something.
Yeah. Like, what would the show have been this whole time if it was me and Melissa from the beginning?
Very different.
Probably like more reasonable. What'd you say?
I said very different.
Yeah, probably more reasonable. Why did you want to talk about changing your language?
Well, just because people seem to be so mad about it. People seem to be like really mad about using the right pronouns, using they,
Yeah.
them. Because Kamala Harris did that thing where she was meeting with disability activists. And so she described what she looked like for the blind activists. And people were furious about that.
Who cares?
Yeah, it's just very strange to me that people feel so like oppressed by the idea of speaking in a different way when like that's what society has always done.
I thought that
know.
I didn't know what had spurred you, but also both Lizzo and Beyonce
yes.
had a word in their song that is not. I don't think a lot of people know that it's a word that is offensive, which is why I don't think either of them would have put it in their songs if they knew that. But because I honestly didn't know before either. But they both took it out, and then people were saying, "Why are they doing this?"
Yeah, actually, that was exactly why I picked
Okay.
this topic. I forgot that
Oh.
was why. Originally, it was going to be about that specifically, but then I thought that it was unfair because I've seen a lot of discourse that there's this like pressure on Black female artists to change their language in a way that
Oh, of
there
course.
hasn't been on other artists. And so I didn't want to make it just about them. But yeah, like I think that the way that they responded to that was like perfect. Where like they clearly didn't know the word's intention. They had feedback and they went, "Oh, okay, let me just change it."
I'm hold on. I'm having a hard time because all these people keep got it. Because all these people are like, they used an ableist slur, so I'm like Googling what it was, and then they don't say what the slur is, which fair, but I'm like, what? I just found one that told me. Okay. Yeah. I think growing and changing is like as easy as that. But I think people get really defensive because they feel like it's an attack on them, which is a natural human reaction. I'm going to take you on a journey.
All right, here we go. Buckle up.
Buckle up. So for Bad with Money, I've been doing a deep dive on Batman because I'm doing an episode about the concept of Batman as a billionaire. And I have watched a lot of Batman movies. And one of the things that has stuck out to me is that in order to justify Batman being a billionaire, they have to take these villains who we would reasonably agree with, right? Environmentalists, people who oppose prisons, people who oppose wealth inequality or corruption within the police. The villains naturally hold the opinions that we would hold. They have to then in the film take those people to a exaggerated murderous place in order to then prove why we need the Batman, who arguably is a Republican cop. So the thing is that I was talking about this with someone, and the it's fear mongering, right? It's the next step. It's like, if we allow, okay, you kind of agree with Bane, but if we allow even 1 inch, the mile that's going to be taken is they're going to put everyone on trial and murder them on the ice. Like, so it's this thing where I think they view, if I start using they, them, or if I can't use this bad word, or if I, if I have to change the way I refer to certain types of people, that they start to get a fight or flight, because it's taught to them by Fox News, by the media they consume, by whatever else, that this is then a slippery slope. That as soon as they give in to using the right pronouns for people, all of a sudden their children will be forced to wear gender neutral clothes to their trans school, where they're forced to play sports against some big kid who's punching. You know what I mean? Like, the reason that they get so bumped on these small things is because they've been taught, and word choice is that they've got this right-wing fantasy that as soon as they give in to this small thing, suddenly their kids will be forced to be trans and injected with 1 million vaccines, and also have to say sorry to a statue of a black person you know what I mean? It's like fear fantasy.
Yeah, but I feel like it's not even just the far right that is having issues with this. Like, I think there are people like more in the middle that like can't understand like why a word that they've always used and never thought was a slur is suddenly a slur.
Yep.
And they get
Sure.
like so upset about that. And to me, it's like, and maybe on the one hand, it's feeling silly that they didn't know that. So therefore, because it was something they didn't know, it can't be true.
Or they're embarrassed, or they feel like, I'm a good person, I have good intentions. On the left, I think it's people being like, I'm good, I'm the best, I have good intentions. If I didn't know about this, then either I'm not as good as I think I am, which can't be possible, or now it's just impossible standards. Or sometimes I think leftist people also think, oh no, we're doing this, we give so much, we help so much, now blind people want our help, like we're never gonna win.
I don't know.
They feel like it's impossible standards when it's like very easy.
I think people get so like caught in their ways that they feel like that things are changing, when the thing is that things have always been the same, that these things have been offensive, but now people feel empowered to speak up about it. And then they're like, well, why didn't you say something sooner? Why is this offensive now when it wasn't offensive before? And it's just like, it's always been offensive. People are empowered to say that it's offensive. Why aren't you giving space for people to feel comfortable and to talk about it?
And like in our lifetime, there's been like, I can think of like 2 major words that used to be said all of the time, like the F word and the R word, constantly. We grew up with those words being thrown around. And then there was a cultural shift where it was like, oh, actually don't say those words. And so people went, okay. But now I feel like it's become this like, because of this like snowflake wokeness, like bullshit out there, it's now become so unbelievably politicized for a marginalized group to say, hey, when you say this, it is offensive or it is harmful or hurtful. It's like, well, this means this stands for much more than just that. And this is our society crumbling around us.
Yes.
But like we always change our words.
Yeah. A lot of words that had a meaning at one time mean something completely different now. So like, it's like people don't want to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even that. It's exactly what Melissa said, where the marginalized group didn't have a voice before. So for instance, Christian Siriano, who has apologized and really made amends for this, was on Project Runway and would throw around the T-slur all the time. That was part of his brand. And then all of a sudden, and think about at that time, were there any trans people on television? Not in a huge way that was respected. Not beyond, Jerry Springer or something. So all of a sudden, the media landscape changes. Suddenly there are people like Janet Mock and Laverne Cox and people like that actually are going on to Carmen Carrera, going on TV and having a voice. And suddenly they're like, actually, we never liked that. You just weren't listening to us.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, and look, the reality is like, if you have been using a term, like for me, like I've tried to stop saying crazy or psychotic or like nuts. And it's been hard. Like, I don't necessarily like, it's not a thing that has come super naturally or easily for me. And there are definitely times where like I still fuck up, or when like I'm like, I feel frustrated that I can't think of a replacement word to give the same type of feel that I want. Like, but to me, like the discomfort of that or the annoyance of that is worth the greater good. And I think that that's what people lose sight of. Is like, yes, it is always difficult to change your language and to take and to lose words that you're used to using, but it is still worth it in the way that all the things that we do that are difficult, we do because of the final outcome.
Now, my question is, you have a mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
You don't feel like you can use those words?
But I was using those words. I mean, I think I can. The only place I ever would feel comfortable using those words is if I was saying I felt crazy about myself. But I would say that's so crazy, or they're acting psychotic, or they're nuts, like, or this is nuts, or that's like or insane. Like those words are very descriptive and were often used, at least for me, not about somebody with actual mental problems. I would use them for a wide variety of situations in a very casual and flippant way. And over the last like year and a half, I've been really, really trying not to. And it is hard because sometimes what I want to say, I don't want to say bananas. Like I want to just say like something that has a little more meat to it. But I recognize that that's not worth it. Like so much is like, what is the cost benefit of these choices? And the cost is always so much greater than the slight benefit of the easiness of maintaining our harmful old vernacular.
It gets a little difficult for me with people's opinions on my ability to say "duck" or "fat." Like the ability where people, I think, have very strong opinions on whether I can say those or refer to my friends as such, or call, like, trans women friends of mine have reclaimed the T slur for themselves. I don't think trans men can use it. That's my opinion. I think because it's been historically targeted at trans women, I think trans women can take it back and use it amongst themselves or to talk about themselves or whatever. But I know that there's like, this kind of big thing of like in our insular groups, how we talk to each other. Or am I, like, I was surprised, like Drew, my friend who's a trans woman, describes herself in an essay. She described herself as a both and a. And I was like, if I did that, I would be ripped apart. I couldn't believe how casually she was able to do that. And I have other friends who very casually use those words for themselves. But then I think because I'm in, like, I have a more of a platform, it's people are a little bit more tense about it. But I'm like, but it's weird because then, Mal and I both like jokingly use transsexual, which is an outdated term to refer to ourselves. But we've realized that doing that allows cis people to think they can do it too. So like the cost benefit analysis is like, then like cis people will think that transsexual is okay to say.
I think that's also like, among like me using the N word. Like I wouldn't say that around anyone that's not Black, but it's like the thing where it's like your word, so you can use it like for yourself, but like other people should realize it's not their word to use.
But if they're outdated, like transsexual is just outdated. It's not really a slur. It's just outdated. And so people still think that that's maybe the word. So that is an easy mistake where you're like, actually, no, we're just being tongue in cheek. It really is transgender. Please use transgender. But then with like more like slur type things, it's sort of like, what's the history of that? Like what's the history of the usage? And then it's still up in the air amongst the community who gets to use what and what it's used for. And it's changed, right? Like I remember like, it's also like insular within like the community as a joke, right? Like it used to be like queer used to be a slur. Or like not even as a joke, right? But there are people who have a really tough time with younger generations calling themselves queer. They're like, queer was a slur. And we're like, yeah, it's not anymore.
It's reclaiming the word.
Unless they're yelling, "You fucking queer," then it's like, okay, your intention there I see is probably not good. But if someone knew the right words and did that, if someone was like, "You fucking transgender," I'd be like, "You have it correct, but that seems aggressive."
What do people prefer instead of queer?
Gay, lesbian. I think it sometimes comes with a bit of a tinge of transphobia because they're like, no, I want to identify as, you know what I mean? Like, I think
That's
there's
what
like
I feel
a little
like. I feel like what is a more universal term than that? Like, right? Like, because some
gay.
people.
I use gay for a lot of it, but queer genuinely describes what I am. What I got a mix of shit going on. Like,
Have you struggled to change your language at all, Melissa?
I'll say that I did about like 3 or 4 years. When did we have on this show? There was a guest. I don't remember their name, but they came on and they were I believe that the topic was changing like words for people with mental health. But whatever that topic was, that was when, because I've never used like the R word or say crazy specifically, because like my mom's sister has cerebral palsy and also schizophrenia, and so like those were always no words for us. But
right.
but like I've been trying to, instead of saying things like nuts or psychotic or something like that, I've stopped saying those words, and that has changed, and I've started using like wild more.
Wild.
Yeah, so it was a struggle, but now it just comes easy. Like I don't think about it anymore.
Yeah. There's a transition period.
Yeah. One big one for me has been eradicating lame,
Lame's another
crippling,
one. Yeah.
blind spot, and tone deaf, because I feel like those have been really good for me to get rid of, and also good because I feel like it forces you to think of better descriptors.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you actually mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's almost like, don't say stuff or things. Like, what do you actually mean?
Yeah, and it is always weird, that moment when somebody tells you that this word that you've been using is offensive and you never realized it. Because there's like a moment of like, oh no, like it almost feels like you've like been walking around with like food on your face or like,
Yeah.
you know, but
Say
just,
thank you. Say thank you for telling me.
oh yeah, I just mean internally. Like I'm
Yeah.
just saying, but like you have to just like recalibrate like this assumption that like you know better. Like you just got to let go of that.
Do y'all correct other people when you hear them use those terms?
Yeah. But sometimes it's hard because not everyone agrees. So, like, someone could correct, like, some disabled people want to be called disabled people. Some people were like, no, we want to be called people with disabilities. It's like not a monolith for each community. So you could run into someone and they could be like, actually, it's this. And then you could meet someone else from the same community who's like, actually, it's this. So I think like I do correct people, but I kind of couch it in like, but that's just me. I don't know.
It depends on the relationship. It depends on the word. Like if I know it's somebody who like doesn't, if I tell them like, hey, actually lame is an ableist slur, like don't use that word. And I know they'll be like receptive to it. Then I definitely will try to do it. But I also, yeah, I mean, maybe I need to be doing more of it. I have just found that even around people who are progressive, the reaction is like,
Yeah.
that one too. Do you?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, totally.
It doesn't. It's not always smooth sailing. Interjecting
And things
with
go
that.
back and forth. Things go back and forth. My dad was using a word for Asian people, and then I said that's not the right word, and then he's like, "Oh, it used to be." Like, and then I was like, "Yeah, it wasn't. Then it was again. Now it's bad again." You know, like things like ebb and flow, kind of in this weird way. Or like, there's a thing up here where I am in New Jersey, where there's big signs around the entire city for midget football. Now, what they mean by that is little league football, but it's called up here midget football. And then people will have shirts with it, and people like there's big signs that say like come on down midget football. And I had never heard that term before, and Mal explained it to me, and I was like, what? I can't just go around. What am I going to do? Go to City Hall? Like, am I going to go to a meeting and be like, guys? But like, I'm just like some city slicker who came in, you know?
Yeah.
I think, hopefully like having more public platforms talk about it, right? Like it just like, because then it's like, oh, like hearing about it like on a podcast or reading in an article, then you're not getting that call out in an interpersonal conversation.
Right.
And then you can sort of like decide if that's something you want to adapt or not. But like, yeah, I think we just like need to be speaking about it more publicly because I think a lot of it is people just not knowing for some of these things.
I think they absolutely don't know because it's just been what it's called probably for the last 50 years.
Well, what do we rate this episode?
I rate it 11 out of 10. Quit your job.
I rate it 30 out of 26. Shave your partner's head.
And I will rate it 17 out of 13 cost benefit analysis. Perfect.
Thank you to Kristen Meinzer and Jolenta Greenberg for being our guests.